Okay, everybody, starting the Zoom recording right before I'm getting ready to start the radio recording here with my buddy, Dr. Mitch. Dr. Mitch Clionsky is back, and can't think of a better guy to have on for early in the 2025 because we need to have tips on the dementia condition, and Dr. Mitch will clear up everything or give us ideas and tips and all kinds of good stuff. So, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to my radio program, everybody. Tom Matt Show coming into you loud and clear. Dementia Prevention and Education is going to be today's episode with my buddy, Dr. Mitch Clionsky. Can't wait to talk to Dr. Mitch. He's so smart and he's got such a great book. Been on the show once before and we really clicked last week. See, here's the thing, everybody. I was kind of piggybacking thing my thoughts together here because I'm thinking I'm having a continuation of last week's show when I had Jeff Chambers on here talking concussion protocols and the Cato collar, because he was the previous episode and talking about, concussion and brain injuries and all this kind of stuff. And we're putting together a whole series of things to go with my doctor friends and Jeff. And you want to check that out. That Cato collar thing for kids, for college, for football players, you need to really check that out because it can really make the prevention of a concussion happen for you. And Jeff Chambers got 40 plus years as a athletic trainer at the professional and at the high level collegiate level. All right, today's show, dementia prevention and education with my buddy Dr. Mitch Clionsky. Mitch Clionsky is a PhD, he's a board certified neuropsychologist who specializes in evaluating and treating patients with cognitive impairment, dementia, ADHD, traumatic brain injury. That's why I was making that reference to the Jeff Chambers thing last week, was because these things are all tied together. And as Dr. Mitch said in his previous time with the show, the dementia condition is like a leaky roof. We'll get to that, okay? We'll talk about that. Dr. Mitch and his wife, Emily, is a medical doctor. They have a combined 70 years of professional and clinical experience in medicine and neuropsychology. Have treated over 20,000 patients. They partner in a private practice, Clionsky Neurosystems. You get that? Based in Springfield, Massachusetts, but we can get you numbers, and you know what? Distance makes no difference nowadays with the internet. They are experienced public speakers, podcast guests, excellent podcast guests. So if you're looking for a guest and you want to promote their work, go for it. Workshop presenters and general professional audiences. I want to welcome back to my program my buddy, Dr. Mitch Clionsky. Mitch, how are you, buddy?
Wow. Best introduction yet. Thank you so much.
You.
Pleasure seeing you again. Welcome to 2025.
No doubt, man. Well, you know how this works. We have This Is Your Life and then our 4 segments, and we've already got like enough material to cover like 27 segments. But first things first, you got to talk about Dr. Emily and your family and your practice and everybody that you're helping. Go ahead. Get everybody caught up on Dr. Mitch. And for the new listeners, who is Dr. Mitch?
Well, I am a guy who's incredibly interested in science and in clinical practice and helping people to get better from where they are. Here I am, at age 74, still seeing patients 5 days a week, running research on the side, developing new models, and every day is an opportunity to find out something new. I was just this morning, I was incredibly interested in a guy who came in for an ADD evaluation who is a college professor. And he is the smartest guy that I've seen in a long time, has a PhD, is incredibly brilliant, and is hampered by the fact that he just can't organize himself to make his ideas work out in action. And last night, I was spending time with a guy who's developing an AI application for a dementia test that we developed 15 years ago and have used during this time. With artificial intelligence, we're going to be able to bring this into someone's home. So let's suppose that Tom Matt wants to find out how he's thinking this week, or he says, maybe I'll check it out with my wife, see how she's thinking. The artificial intelligence can do the test administration, score the whole thing, and give you out a printout that'll connect with our dementia prevention checklist. So you can say, well, I'm doing pretty well. Let me see how I can increase my future. Let me see how I can up my game. So I guess I'm saying there's a lot of really exciting things going on, and I'm glad to be able to be part of it.
I'm so happy to have you on the show today, Mitch. And it's like, upping your game. That's something we need to talk about because I really do believe, and I've been involved with the dementia, Alzheimer's condition, and research and interviews for quite a while, most of my radio career, 14 years. But upping people's outlook on life and getting younger people to understand that this is a lifelong journey, and so instead of saying, yeah, it's a old person's condition, that Alzheimer's dementia, but it's not because there's so many other things that can exacerbate the onset. So can you kind of give the young people out there who are tuning us out and we might want to give them a little hook to stick around?
Well, it's sort of the same message that financial people give people starting out in their careers when they tell them someday you may want to retire. And you're not going to be able to put aside the money for this in the last 3 years of your career. But if you start doing it now and put aside a little bit and work on this gradually over time, it's really going to pay dividends down the road. The problem with that message, and it's the same problem with the message about dementia prevention, is there's a time lag. Time lag, which we talk about a bit in the book, is what gets in the way of most positive behaviors. It doesn't get in the way of negative behaviors. For example, put your hand on a hot stove. There's no time lag. You pull your hot hand off that stove right away because it hurts right away. Talk with people about keeping their body weight consistent with their body size. In other words, avoiding being obese. And there's a disconnect. I am eating today and enjoying the food now. I will not know how this turns out for days, weeks, perhaps even months from now. So the disconnect is what makes it a problem. It's the same way that we see people who compulsively buy things. They go into a store and the salesperson comes out and they say, "Oh, you look so great in that new suit or that new dress." Or, "Wow, that's amazing. That's just so beautiful on you." And the person says, "I want this now." And guess what? I have this card in my wallet that I can put down. Not only will I not have to pay for it today, but now I get to give someone my autograph right on the bottom, although these days you can sort of tap it. But it used to be you have to give them an autograph. And I won't see the effects of this for 20 days. So the disconnect is part of human behavior that gets in the way of positive habits. And that's a big part of a lot of what I'm dealing with people is here's something today you got to do. And how do you get that message across to a younger generation that's used to press a button, get an immediate response? You want to ask a question? Just ask Siri. You want to, find out what's going on? Well, you can wear something on your wrist overnight, and that'll give you an immediate answer. That's a hard sell. And but yet that's what we're trying to do with the metacognition, the looking at the larger picture and saying, okay, what are you doing now? How's this going to affect you at a point you can't even imagine, but it's going to be there at some point.
It will be there at some point. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Dr. Mitch, I was just jotting. We're going to come up on break here pretty quick here, so I'm not going to give you a long question here. But I have a new little two-word thing that I'm using with my choices, and I say choices have consequences. And so if you make choices, just like you were just saying about all these little time lag positive behaviors, that's the thing. We need to just pour this into people's brains that choices have consequences. Give me a quick response on that, if you would, please, and then I'll wrap this segment. We'll go to break.
I agree. The question is how to make that happen, how to give people the awareness.
Exactly. I mean, so that's the thing, everybody. Choice plus challenge equals change. I've used that forever. And so choice plus challenge equals change. So the choice, the relevant point of that is it's the level of the challenge that affects the change. So the challenge can be very small. And so like Dr. Mitch was saying, if you want to, you want to put on that new suit, but you are 40 pounds overweight, it's not going to work right away. We got to work on getting you back in shape. And so into that more fitting body thing. We need to understand that the challenge needs to match the choices, and that way the change will be reflective. So today we're going to talk about with Dr. Mitch, dementia prevention and education. Specifically, I'm going to deep dive into some chapters of his outstanding book, Dementia Prevention, which I encourage everyone to check out because it's greatness. And I've read it, and Sandy's read it, and it's like because it's so relevant. And all of these tips, this is not an old person's condition. This is a human being condition. And Dr. Mitch Clionsky is here to talk about dementia prevention and education. This is the Tom Match. Simple, man. Save. Boom. Let's roll. Like it. Here we go. Where's my card? Here's my card. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. I'm your host, Tom Matt. This segment is sponsored by one of the greatest guys ever, Craig Stiles, Ameriprise Financial. Your Ameriprise Financial Advisor. We hope. He is our Ameriprise Financial Advisor, and he has all of our refirement zone savings. Remember, I like that term, refirement. You can choose to retire, or you can choose to refire, or you can have a little blend of both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be a Mitch Clionsky, time lag thing. You could just jump into it whenever you want. But you want to do little bits here and there. You're just like we're talking with Craig, and I liked what you said about the retirement, Mitch, about the saving money. That's what Craig's helping us with here, because we have been saving money. But if you save all this money and you don't put it into your health, you're going to have some problems. So get with Craig. Ameriprise Financial, Craig Stiles, can help you plan for the life you want today and well into the future. Please give Craig a call, 1-800-528-1355. His local number is 517-483-4893. His email is craig.stiles@ampf.com. His offices are located at 2651 Coolidge Road, Suite 108 in East Lansing, Michigan, 48823. Stations that have carried us in the past, carrying us now, the Michigan Talk Network, of course, with Stephen Ivy Gruber. WGIM is the flagship of the Michigan Talk Network. 1240 a.m. in Lansing, Michigan, carrying us multiple times on weekends. WGHN 92.1 in Grand Haven, WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids, WKOQ 1490 Muskegon, WYPV FM 94.5 Mackinac City. We're on a lot of stations in the Michigan Talk Network, and a lot of them are mom and pops, and they move and go, and it's just like, so if I'm missing your call letters and you're hearing this, send me a note, tommattshow.com, and I'll be happy to add it to this read, because I want to promote the stations that are carrying the show. Tell me, what you want to do. And then, of course, our PBS affiliate at Michigan State University is WKAR AM 870 News Talk and simulcast at 102.3 FM. I want to thank Craig Stiles again for creating Decideri Analytics, where we are making light of weighted decisions. That is his proprietary algorithm that he uses to help your money grow, be sustainable, keep you happy. That is that. So please give Craig a call, because he is my man and he helps us tremendously. He'll be on the show here shortly. All right, back to my show today with Dr. Mitch Clionsky. Great guy. He wrote the book, Dementia Prevention. Been on the show before. Love talking about this topic. He's very, very well known. Dementia Prevention Education, what we're going to call this one today, because since we're still early in 2025, what can we give people tips with? Tips, because everybody's looking for a tip. New Year's resolution, something. Let's make a change. Let's do something. Well, let me tell you, sustainable change has to be very incremental. We have to make small changes. That's coming from the personal trainer aspect of my brain. And it's like, I've seen it a million times. I mean, if you take too much, I just did a video this morning on TikTok. It's like, you do too much, you lose. 75% of New Year's resolutions fail in the first 30 days. You know why that is? Because people take too big of a goal. They need to step back. So what I'm going to do with Dr. Mitch today, I'm just going to let him riff on some chapters from his book, because I think that all 5 of these chapters, and this is obviously not the whole book, but starting off, Dr. Mitch, the first one was chapter 5, lifestyle factors, smoking, diet, and exercise. Now that's a whole show. Can you take next 6 minutes or so and talk about that chapter, please?
Yeah, these are huge topics.
Huge.
At this point, the fact that people continue to smoke cigarettes continues to astound me and most people I talk to, because, all of us had smoked at some point. I remember the first time I smoked and actually threw up afterwards, which I think is a fairly common response. But, I wanted to be cool, so I was really willing to put up with whatever illness was required to get good at smoking. And I got really good at smoking. I got so good that I could not smoke for a while. And I had to figure out at some point, basically when my wife was pregnant with our eldest daughter, that I needed to stop that. And so one of the issues that I talk a lot about with my patients who still smoke, there are some, is what drives their ongoing smoking. And one of the weird things I find is that oftentimes it's habit, not chemistry. These are people who tell me, oh, no, I'm only smoking 5, 6 cigarettes a day. Now, is that a lot? Not in the grand scheme of things, but for them, they already have lung problems that make them more likely to have illnesses, pneumonia, those kinds of infections, respiratory infections. Oftentimes are the difference between someone in age 75 having mild cognitive impairment, just a mild case where they don't remember things as well, they're not as efficient as they should be, or then having an infection, which causes a whole chain of events that cause them to have the beginnings of dementia. So I look at them and I say, well, what is it? Obviously, it's not the nicotine at this point that's driving it because you're under the level that's typically addictive. And what we get into is these people who smoke, as all of us do, had developed habits that were part of our ability to take a break. Oh, I'll go and have a cigarette. Well, what they're really doing is they're having a break with a cigarette. And so if we can separate those two things, I actually teach something called sham smoking because this is what I learned when I was quitting. I'd gotten down to a point where what I really missed was the feel of the cigarette in my hand, the activities of tamping it on my watch. It was my buddy when I took a trip. It was the thing I reached for when the phone rang. It was all these things that were part of my life. So I got a pack of straws, drinking straws, and I cut them to the length of cigarettes, stuffed them into an old cigarette pack. And every time I would have smoked a cigarette, I went through all the motions. I took out the straw, tamped it on my watch, put it in my hand just like I would, and pretended I didn't actually use a lighter because I didn't want to have the consequence there. But I went through all the steps of breathing through it. What I discovered was that part of the experience of smoking had to do with relaxing breaths. And I found that this really, I look sort of stupid to other people. I didn't care. But I used this technique because I wanted to beat this habit. And I knew that there were things I could do if I just kept myself learning these habits until they no longer had any hold on me. Because after a while, when there's no nicotine coming back, you decide I really don't have to do that anymore. I've sort of extinguished this habit. So anyway, smoking is one of those pathways because people who smoke have lung problems. People who smoke tend to also overeat, tend to also not exercise. There's a lot of things that go along with this. And we're always looking for where's that entry point into changing your behavior. It may not be that exercise can do it when you're still smoking because you're out of breath. So we got to work someplace, and smoking cessation is always a good place because whenever you can reduce the number of cigarettes you're smoking in a day, that's a better day than the other.
Excellent. Okay, so that's and I'm going to take this through to break with you, Dr. Mitch. Dr. Mitch Klionsky, let me reset this, everybody. Dr. Mitch Klionsky is our guest today. Dementia prevention and education. Well, if that wasn't a good intro into a little bit of education, because that's chapter 5, and smoking just leads right into the diet, which leads into the exercise, which leads back to problems. And so what we're going to do is, and this is the hook to come back for the next segment, everybody. We're going to talk about this is really huge because sleeping and breathing while sleeping, and take it from a guy who has sleep apnea. And we talked about this in the previous episode at length because I'm very interested in this. You need to understand this. So if you're just joining us, you're getting ready. If you're getting out of your car, then you're going to want to go get the podcast and get this segment because this is really important to understand. All of it's important to understand with Dr. Mitch. Dr. Mitch Klionsky, Dementia Prevention and Education. This is the Tom Matz Show. Good job. You're great. I want to get you at least twice a year. At least. I mean, I'm doing this performance living thing with Dr. Avellino, and he's out and he's one of my really, really good friends, and he's a pediatric neurosurgeon. And
Hmm.
starting to do, like, maybe we get your wife in and we do these combo shows where I have a couple of different three people. I'm going to do that thing with Jeff Chambers, as I said earlier. Jeff Chambers is going to do, because I sent this white paper over to Tony, and he read it. He goes, "Oh, this is awesome," because Jeff's trying to get some pub for his Cato College thing, and I'm like, we need to talk about all of this stuff. So here we go. Here we go. I got a read to do here, and then we're good. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've missed any portion of the episode, please go to tommattshow.com. You can click on any of the buttons over there. It's so easy. The website's so easy. Just go check it out, please. And go to YouTube and check out all the different people. We got students that we bring in here all the time. We've got doctors like Dr. Mitch. We got all kinds of people coming in here. This segment's sponsored by another brother from another mother, Brock Fletcher, selling team of Keller Williams. Again, full disclosure, the selling team of Keller Williams Realty absolutely assisted Sandy and I with the I don't want to call it the dumping of Big House Holt, but we sold Big House Holt. We thought that was our forever home. That we thought was our forever home. Goodbye, it's gone. And they helped us buy Little House Lansing, where we're recording this episode. So I want to be completely transparent with all of that. Call Brock today. Okay, this is the office number, 517-853-6408, or you can call 517-303-3262. Go online to kwsellingteam.com. You can go to our website, of course, at the bottom of the website, and then there's all our sponsor spot where and we have friends there. You can click out right on through there. Sell your home without hassles like we did. Brock and Craig, my previous segment sponsor, they have multiple shows on our website. If you want to just go get some info, you want to listen to what they have to say, you want to go listen to an excerpt, a clip, or just kind of get to know the people, this is your entry point to meeting new people. And trust is the middle name for both of our sponsors, and that's why they're sponsors on our radio program, because they are the best people that can help you. Brock Fletcher spends thousands, and I'm not kidding you, thousands of dollars on marketing every month to create demand for your home, to get you some outreach. He does that because other agents do it when they get your listing. That's the truth. So keep that in mind. Again, 517-303-3262. Tell Brock, that's his cell phone number. Text him, leave him a voicemail, tell him you heard it from Tommy, and away you go, because that helps us both. Back to today's episode. My buddy, Dr. Mitch Clionsky's back. So glad to get him early in the season, because we're talking, this is super important stuff. So if you were listening to the previous thread on the previous segment, told you that we're going to talk, this is a huge, each one of these topics that we're doing a quick snapshot with Dr. Mitch today from his book. His book is Dementia Prevention. Okay. It's got a blue cover. It's sweet. But this chapter is like, they're all important. Every one of them is important. But this one, Mitch, because personally, I'm, as I said, sleep apnea. This is chapter 6, sleeping, breathing while sleeping. Okay. It's all yours. Go right ahead, please.
Well, this is the secret sauce of dementia, in my opinion, or at least one of the secret sauces. It's unfortunately one that is overlooked very often, despite the fact that in my library, I think I have 35 different articles, scientifically developed articles,
Peer-reviewed,
published in very, very famous journals, showing a connection between lack of oxygen caused by not breathing well while you're sleeping, leading to changes in how your brain processes new information, how the cells create adenosine triphosphate, otherwise known as ATP, which is an energy molecule. So that people who are not getting enough oxygen to their brain while they're sleeping are tired. They're getting up multiple times during the night to go to the bathroom because, strangely enough, sleep apnea is also related to nocturia, to multiple episodes of peeing during the night. There's actually a chemical chain of events that causes that to happen. The other thing that we now know is that when people are having interrupted sleep because they keep waking up to a low level during the night, they don't spend enough time in stage 3 which is deep sleep. And two things of importance occur in stage 3 sleep. Number one, memory becomes consolidated. So the stuff that you experience during the day forms more coherent memories while you sleep during stage 3. And secondly, there's a system called the glymphatic system, which is our overnight cleaning crew that comes in and flushes out the toxins, the waste products that build up from our thinking and mental abilities during the day. So all day long, we're thinking, we're creating great ideas and doing things. We're also creating trash. Well, the glymphatic system comes through and flushes that out at night during stage 3 sleep. So if you're not sleeping continuously, if you're not spending enough time in stage 3 sleep, that doesn't happen. Those waste products build up. You got trash overflowing in your mental house, and it makes it very hard for your brain to work properly. So there's a couple of things that happen there, in addition to a variety of other problems caused by insufficient oxygen getting to brain cells. So the question
Can I
becomes,
jump in just for a
yeah,
second there?
gosh, please.
And I would just like to tell, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's like, take it from a guy who has sleep apnea, the before and after. If you wake up and you feel like you're, because I haven't had, I'm alcohol free 26 years now. So it's like waking up with a hangover, or you drank a little bit too much the night before and you're just groggier than hell. And it's like, that's what the feeling is, what Dr. Mitch is saying. When you're not in that stage 3, you're not waking up refreshed. That's what I used to feel. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Mitch. Go ahead.
No, no, true. And you fall asleep while you're watching the games at night.
Exactly.
And you fall asleep in the movies theater when you're trying to make it through a 2.5 hour film. And yeah, I've been there, done that. I've been on CPAP now for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So I see the difference. And I tell my patients that we're members of the same club. We both got sleep apnea. And that the good thing is there's effective treatments for this. And it's a matter of just, again, doing it on a consistent basis. But one of the other things, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but do you know what percentage of people over age 58 have sleep apnea?
I do not.
50%.
Really?
Yeah, so there's this large
That
scale
weight issue?
study done about a year ago where 6,000 people from the general population all took a 1 night home sleep test. So they didn't have to go into a lab, didn't have to go into a hospital. They got this little gizmo that they put on their finger, attached to their wrist, and they slept 1 night in their own bed. And all the information from that was uploaded. These are very accurate tests these days. And where these people come from, they came from places like the Framingham Heart Study, the Mayo Clinic, very reputable places that every couple of years bring in a new cohort of middle-aged people, and they test them in a variety of ways and follow them through the course of their lives every several years. So these are not special people. These are not people with cognitive complaints. These are people like general people. Anyway, so they decided that these, I think, 7 different groups were going to form a consortium. They're going to pool their data. And they came up with 6,000 people, huge sample size. And half of those people have at least mild sleep apnea. In other words, 5 times or more every hour while they're asleep, they either stop breathing or their oxygen level drops by 4%. Those two things together determine whether or not you have sleep apnea. I found that to be the most startling information I've ever seen because it tells us we're missing most of those folks. We should be screening for this starting at age 50 in everybody every 5 years, just like you get a colonoscopy. You also ought to get a sleep study. It's cheap, it's easy, it's 1 night.
How do they get the Mitch? We're coming up on break here in a second, but I want to ask you real quick. Is that test available? Is it cost effective? Is it easy for
Oh,
people?
yeah. You need a doctor's prescription. Online, these tests can be mailed to you. You can buy them. You search under sleep apnea test. Last time I looked, if you wanted to pay out of pocket, didn't want to use your insurance, it was like $180. It was that inexpensive.
Oh my gosh. It's so worth it. Okay, let me carry this thing through. That advice right there, everybody. If you have someone who's snoring, I never knew. I never knew I had sleep apnea. I thought what Dr. Mitch was saying about falling asleep, watching TV in the theater. That's what my doctors asked me. My sleep specialist asked me, he said, well, do you fall asleep in a chair? And I said, well, yeah, all the time. And he goes, that's not normal. And I thought it was because that's all the normal. That's the thing, everybody. Your normal may be abnormal. You get what I'm saying here? That's what Dr. Mitch is saying. Your abnormality is something that you've been doing for so long, you have no idea that it's occurring. It happened to me. I'm telling you. So you need to get this checked out. So again, that sleep apnea testing, if insurance pays for it, $180, it's worth it. It's worth it. Resetting this whole thing. Dr. Mitch Klionsky's here. Dementia Prevention Education. This is the Tom Matt Show. That was freaking great. I'm going to tell her to cut that out. That's segment 3. Segment 3. Sleep. Vanessa. My assistant's been becoming very, very good. She's always been good, but she's just learning how to, manage our stuff. And she's been with us now for over a year. So really well. If you need because she's I give her quite a bit of work, but she's in the Philippines. If you need a graphic designer or a editor or any of that kind of stuff for your website, Mitch, and you're looking for somebody who's cost effective and trustworthy, I got somebody for you. So
Wow.
yeah.
Actually, we're going to be doing our own podcast at some point this year.
You're going to want to, you should talk to Vanessa. Just all of my video stuff that you see on Instagram, all those little clips that you see, previews, those are all done by her. She does them all. I mean,
Really?
I record this now, and what we do is I send it over to her in our drive and just give her a couple of notes, give her the recap. She takes care of everything now. I used to do it all myself, and it was just like finding her. I just want to do this. I want to do this part and administer everything and kind of keep things going. All right, here we go. No plugs here. I'm going to ask for all your contact info in this segment and in the next segment. So I'm going to throw that to you. And then do you need any more time with sleeping, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, let's talk about Dementia Prevention Checklist, if you don't mind.
Checklist? Okay. All right, let's do that. Dementia Prevention Checklist. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to save that for the 5th segment? Because this is our 4th segment. Because I got metabolic and vitamin deficiencies, alcohol, drugs, medications. Those are all solid, and we can always do those another time. But
you want to talk about dental hygiene?
Dental hygiene?
Oh, yeah, that's one of those things that people don't know much about that actually is related to dementia risk.
Okay, here we go. Sweet. Hey everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. I'm your host, Tom Matt. Today, dementia prevention and education. This is for all ages. Everyone should be listening to this and reading this book, Dementia Prevention, from Dr. Mitch Klionsky. And if you missed the previous segment, which that was awesome, was dealing with sleep, all of these little pieces to the dementia condition, there's so many things. Dr. Mitch, how would you like people to connect with you, find you and Emily, perhaps get some diagnosis or some treatment? Please, speaking engagement, go right ahead. Take your time and share all of your contact info.
The easiest, most direct way is our website. It's called BrainDoc, BrainDoc. And that'll allow people to ask questions. We have a number of podcasts, none as good as this, but we have a number of podcasts on there that answer a variety of different kinds of things. We have a link to our book on dementia prevention. So if people are saying, how do I get a hold of this? It tells you how to either order the book or download it on Kindle or get an audio book. I mean, it's all through that. And we also have a way of connecting with us on email. And the most exciting thing for me right now, I think, is this new dementia prevention checklist that we have online that people can take, and it's going to generate for you your dementia prevention plan. So, yeah. So what we've done is taken all of these different elements from the book and the questionnaire that's in the book right now and fully automated it so someone can fill it out online. And then for a small fee, they can generate their own individualized dementia prevention profile, see a colorized version of our model where they're on target, where they're off target, and where they're in between, somewhere near target. So that then will then drop down into couple columns of here I'm on target, here I'm near target, et cetera, as well as all the different aspects of where they are and what steps to take. So it's fully interactive. And we think it's really a step forward because, it's not enough to just say, well, that's an interesting idea. As you well know, if you're not going to do anything with it, why bother?
How long did it take you to develop the dementia prevention checklist? That sounds outstanding, and people should get this for nominal cost. I mean, why wouldn't they do that? How long did it take to develop this?
Well, the actual stuff, the guts of it comes from the book and the research we did for the book. The working with the web developer and the programmer to actually get this to do what I envisioned it doing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of errors along the way. I didn't explain something clear enough. They had an assumption. I mean, this is communication. You think, oh, this is the vision. I can see this. Here's how I want it. And it comes back and say, well, that wasn't exactly what I wanted. I don't know. Fortunately, I don't count those hours. They're just, I'm going to be doing something anyway. This is what I want to do. I just want it
Takes
to come
a
out
while.
right.
Well, that was my point. And if you've got a small business or you're doing something, everybody, the tip is when you have web developers and you have an idea and you're doing a survey and you're doing something like this, some diagnostics, these things take time and plan on
Mhm.
it. It just happens. Craig Stiles built his algorithm, his Decedary model algorithm, and he built that 20 years ago, and he's still to this day he's improving it. So these things they're never a finished piece of work. Mitch, you wanted me to ask you about, and I was completely unaware. As much as I'm trying to learn more and more, and I just every time I talk to you, it's like I'm learning more stuff. But the dental hygiene and the aspect of dental hygiene, when you go to the dentist and get a cleaning, having regular cleanings, there's a really good reason for that, other than just your teeth. I mean, there's more things that go on with the doctor, with your hygienist. Can you talk about all of the other parameters that go into that, please?
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of those things that most people don't think about, but dental hygiene is mental hygiene in some ways. That because as we get older, especially, we start to experience more problems with our teeth and our gums. And so the everyone says, well, I want someone who's got deep pockets. Well, in your mouth, you do not want deep pockets between your teeth and your gums, because if your gums begin to recede away from your teeth, that's when various bacteria get in, and those create inflammation, and which we don't want in our mouth because it's so close to our brain and so connected to various other aspects of our body, but we don't want the development of bacteria that can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause inflammation in our brain. So I tell people the key here, aside from going to see your dentist on a regular basis, is you want to always use the F word. And they look at me like, what do you mean the F word? I said, yeah, the F word, because my dental hygienist taught it to me. It's called floss. And they say, oh, that F word. I say, yeah. But you know something, the thing about floss, and I discovered this for myself. I used to hate the floss because I have to get the string and you try to go around and squeeze back in and get your fingers back in there, and it never works out right. And your mirror is covered with spit, and you say, this can't be good. I don't want to do this again. And then I discovered these dental picks, these little plastic curved things, so that you go in through the front. You don't have to go around the back and in. And they're easy to use. You can keep them in your pocket. They even have little carrying cases. I love these things because they go everywhere and you eat and you can just get the food out from between your teeth. And suddenly your gum health improves and your pockets recede so that you now have, better gum health, and you've now improved your brain without even thinking about it. You also have better teeth. So
Shallow.
it's all connected.
Okay, here's the takeaway, everybody. Shallow pockets in your mouth are good. I have gone through this. And there's another thing I've gone through, and I know exactly what you're talking about with those dental picks because I use the same things. I swear we must be related because I felt the same way. My hygienist was always on, and I'm like, listen, I'm going to tell you, I didn't have a flaw. Blah, blah, blah. And as over time, and in technology, and with the dental picks and the little plastic things, and then the string ones, those things are awesome. Now all of a sudden, I'm not so opposed to trying to string once in a while. It's really, really very effective and good to know, everybody. So you don't want deep pockets. If you go in and your dental hygienist says, we got to work on these deep pockets, because they've said that to me a couple of times, these deep pockets, I'm like, uh-oh, we got to work on that. All right, we're going to come up on break here in a couple minutes here, but I want to set this up because we got one more segment to go here, and we got a couple more things we want to cover. There's so many things to cover, but a couple more things on today's agenda. Metabolic and vitamin deficiencies. Dr. Mitch, would you please set this up here, and I'll give you the signal when we're getting close to break. But that's a big part of the dementia risk model, part 2 of your book. Would you please set that up?
So this is stuff that most people don't appreciate because they're looking for something they can buy over the counter that fixes their brain. And I got to tell you, it does not exist. So all those commercials you're seeing where people are saying, oh, I now have the memory of an elephant. Guess what? That's placebo effect. There's no evidence that those things work. So that whole aisle that they're selling you at 60, 70 bucks a month for various supplements that supposedly help your brain, I wish they did. It would make my job a whole lot easier.
So that's a good tip for you, everybody. And I've thought about that as well. So we still got a couple seconds going on here, Mitch. We can talk about this. With which vitamin deficiencies are people most prevalent that you've come across? And I'll give you that signal when we're coming up on it.
So the ones we're concerned about are vitamin B9 and B12. B9 is folic acid, B12, and also having what's called normal but suboptimal vitamin D levels. So it turns out that vitamin D has a huge range and that there are better and worse levels that are still normal. And so part of the reason why we include this in the book is because we want people to be knowledgeable so they can ask their doctors, could you please order these tests for me? Because this is what we want to pay attention to.
That's a great tip there. So those testing, when you make the request, I've gone through this on my last physical, which I learned for this year's physical, or actually 2 physicals ago, I wanted to have like my testosterone check. They don't usually check that. You got to ask, you got to request these things. So get with Dr. Mitch, read his book, go through the book and find out what he's talking about with these levels with your vitamin deficiency. We'll talk about this more when we come back from break, everybody, because it's coming up here shortly. For a guy let me tell you something. Dr. Mitch, for a guy that's in his early 70s, the guy talks, walks, looks like he's in his 40s. I'm not kidding you. I mean, maybe early 50s, but he's so on top of his game. And it's like, Sandy met somebody at the gym the other day, Mitch, I'll carry this thing through, but she met a couple of new friends at the gym. And one of the gentlemen was 85 years old. And she said, this guy looked like he's 50. The whole thing is that you got to contribute to your own well-being, everybody. And that's what Dr. Mitch and I are talking about. And when we come back, we'll talk more about this. We'll talk about the vitamin deficiencies, alcohol, drug, and medications, and how much those can affect what you may perceive as dementia. Dr. Mitch is here. I'm Tom Matt, and this is the Tom Matt Show. Boom. Do you want to talk any more about the vitamin deficiencies? You want to wrap that? Or
I think they can get that through the checklist, but I want to send you for an eye exam because I don't look like I'm in my 50s.
I'm looking at your skin. Listen, dude, listen. I'm a trainer.
I'll take mid 60s. I'll go for that.
Well, I don't know. Me personally, I'm around college kids all the time.
Yeah.
I was really surprised when you said that. I was like, I mean, hey, take it, man. If I say you're,
I'm just kidding you. That was nice.
No, I know what you're saying, but it's a good point for people to understand. It's like people just they don't get it. I mean, it's like we got to stay on this. There's no silver bullet. We got to start early.
When you're the child of someone with dementia, it hits home. You really want to do more because you don't want to go down that path. I've been there. I've seen that path.
I'm going to ask you that question here.
Sure.
Let's do your contact info one more time, and then I'll ask you that question. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show, 5th and final segment. So you're picking this up on some of the radio stations and, of course, the podcast. And this is typically the best segment of the show. Unfortunately, it's not picked up by all of the stations, but that's radio. Okay. But podcasting is different and podcasting is cool. And so our guest today is Dr. Mitch Klionsky. It's so important to get the information to call on this one today, everybody, Dementia Prevention and Education. After Dr. Mitch's outstanding book, Dementia Prevention, took me a lot of creative thought to come up with that title. But Mitch, we were talking about a couple of things during break, and you wanted to kind of go through. There's some things on the dementia prevention checklist. Finish the thread with the with the vitamin deficiencies, and there was something else that you wanted to add as well, and I'll let you go ahead and talk about that. Go right ahead.
Well, the vitamins and the medications that people take over the counter, a lot of those things are included right in the dementia prevention checklist. They're also in the book, including some of the over-the-counter medications that people take, especially for sleep or medications that they might take to help them relax. I mean, there's just a variety of things out there, but some of these can actually interfere with your thinking. And so we concluded a link to an online ability to check how much anticholinergic effect there is. An anticholinergic effect is when a chemical in your brain, acetylcholine, which is important for thinking and memory, gets suppressed because of medications that you take. And so some of the things that we take, like all the PMs, the medications that are such and such PM to help us sleep, are very anticholinergic. They dry us out. So are some of the medications that we take for colds or allergies. Some of the medications that are prescribed for urinary incontinence. Somebody's peeing too much, well, they take one of these. And these can add up and actually can get in the way of thinking effectively. And changing the way in which we get these can make a difference in how we think. But
Absolutely.
when
Go
you were
ahead.
talking before about, how do you get motivated to do these kind of changes? And I want to tell you personally that having a parent with dementia is a very motivating kind of thing. It's not my ideal way of learning about this, however. This is not the kind of thing you want to seek to have, but I feel for the people like me who belong to this club, adult children of parents with dementia. We have seen what effect it has when our parents got older and they began to have problems thinking and remembering, and their personalities changed. And our role with them went from being the child to becoming the parent. And one of the things that I think is so powerful is if you test people like I do or know people like I do who have got dementia, you look behind them and you have a whole family of people who don't want to have dementia. And that's a very important audience because they've seen what it does and they're motivated to say, what can I do now to not end up like that then?
Well, maybe it's alcohol and drugs, like in chapter 8. Talk about the alcohol and drugs that you can, because you can control this outcome because you have choice. Again, here we go with choices and consequences. If you're going to make the
Mhm.
choice, then understand that there's potential consequences with it, with alcohol and drugs. I mean, go right ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, the question of alcohol is really interesting. For people who have not had substance problems in the past, generally the advice has been, well, if you're a woman, you can have one alcoholic beverage a day without it causing major problems. If you're a man, you can have one or two. The more recent research on this suggests that from both a cancer perspective and a dementia perspective, that any level of alcohol is probably excessive, and that moving from regular beer to non-alcoholic beer is a great opportunity for people because from a taste perspective, in a lot of cases, it's hard to tell the difference. Uh, and whatever you can do to reduce what you are pouring into the glass. I find that people say, well, I just have one drink. And I say, great. Do you use, or making a cocktail? Right. I said, do you use a shot glass or do you pour like your neuropsychologist does? And they always laugh. And I said, so here's an experiment. Take what you pour, make a normal pour, then pour it into a shot glass. Educate yourself about what you're actually pouring because you got to start someplace. And it's pretty amazing, both there and in terms of wine, that what people think is a drink is actually two to three. And so I find that's an early way of sort of getting into the discussion with them without becoming, the school marm who stands there with her arms crossed and says, you shouldn't be doing this. I recognize that there's a lot in society that puts us into positions where we consume alcoholic beverages. So we got to figure out how to play on that field. And for some people, they say, I can probably have one without a problem in terms of my life and my behavior. But then the question is this good for my health? And that's a different discussion.
So here's because I've been reading a lot about this. Mitch Kliansky's our Dr. Mitch Kliansky's our guest today, everybody. Dementia prevention and education. I've been reading a lot of articles about the toxicity of alcohol and how what you just said, like one drink is toxic.
Yeah.
Where just like the food pyramid, we're told for 25 years when we were young, yeah, the food pyramid's great. Yeah, go ahead and have 14 servings of grain. It's fine. You'll be fine. And then all of a sudden everybody's got diabetes. I mean, it's like so have you seen the same thing with the alcohol? I mean, it sounds like you have that the toxicity of alcohol that is you shouldn't even do it at all.
Yeah, that's the most recent research is saying that some of the old work that was done that says, okay, one drink may be actually protective for your heart and for your brain. Well, first of all, we discovered that it was actually sponsored by the wine industry in France. So there's a bit of a conflict there. But if you look at it today and you look at the studies done using things like MRI scans of the brain, what you emerge from is saying, I need to be more careful about what I consume. I definitely don't want to have days where I'm really consuming excessively. Any binge drinking we know is damaging. And how can I change my relationship with alcohol so that it becomes something that maybe I do occasionally if I want to, and not something regularly because I have to.
There you go. I mean, it's just again, everybody, we're not here to preach. We're just here to give you good information, and just if you want to get in better shape, because the alcohol, from my perspective as a trainer, I tell my clients when I'm working with people, and the ones that always, because I always ask, "What's the goal, Mitch? What's the goal?" And a lot of times it's like, "I want to lose weight." Well, the two things I tell people: you want to lose weight, you know, what two ways, the two easiest ways to lose weight, if you drink alcohol. First off, you want to sleep better. Okay. And second off, you want to quit drinking alcohol for 30 days. Watch what happens because sleeping, if you don't get the good sleep like Dr. Mitch was talking about earlier in the show, you're not going to get into REM sleep. You're going to be, your cortisol levels are going to be high and you're not going to feel good. I mean, it's just the way it goes. Mitch, we got about 3 minutes to go here before we have to wrap this. Been a great episode with you. And I want to just let you have a plenty of time to do your takeaway. We talk about the dementia checklist, the things that we've talked about today, or anything else that you think is vitally important for people in this episode. Go ahead. You got about 3 minutes to go. Go right ahead. Take your time. Share your contact info too. But what are some of the takeaway tips that you really want to leave with people from today's episode?
Number one, as we are living longer, we have to be living healthier in order more to have our brains work the entire time throughout our life. Nobody wants to live to be 90, but not remember the last 10 years or be able to function. And that starts really earlier. Just very recently on my side, within the last day, I saw new studies showing that the rate of dementia is going to double in the United States over the next 20 years or so. Well, that's going to be catastrophic. It's sort of like a climate kind of change in that at certain points it becomes unsustainable. We simply don't have enough people to take care of the people who are living longer and are unable to function. So even if it was from a societal point of view, you want to do something, but from a personal point of view, now's the time to begin. This is something which you could integrate into your life that will be healthier for you. You can't always prevent dementia. We could reduce the risk by 50%. There's half of those people who are going to develop dementia anyway. And that's simply out of the realm of our understanding at this point. But if you want to really increase your chances of being on the good side of that, now's the time to educate yourself. Now's the time to begin to make a plan and to start making small changes that you can repeat day after day after day because they become big changes over the course of time.
Exactly.
So our, our website is sort of the central place we send people. Braindoc.com is the name of it, BrainDoc. It contains contact information, a checklist, access to the book, a lot of articles, a lot of podcasts. But we welcome input. Please, there's a section you can send us questions. Please do. Happy to answer questions.
My takeaway, everybody, and I'm going to do the wrap, is you want to get that test. Do the sleep apnea test. $180, or get with your insurance company and do it at home. That's the best thing that I would say could help you. If it's $180 or $200, who cares? If our show fits your business or group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests like a Dr. Mitch Clionsky. That's why Dr. Mitch takes his time. He's very busy, but he's very, very caring, and he wants people to be better, be educated. All of my guests are in the same boat. They want us to become better. We all want people to become better. I want to become better. Dr. Mitch wants to be better because we need to be our best selves to help you become your best selves. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thank you, Dr. Mitch Kliansky, my buddy. Appreciate having you on the show, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Sandy Matt, Craig Stiles, Brock Fletcher. We'll talk to everybody next weekend. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Ash Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. And lastly, I want to say thank you to our production staff, Mitch, Anderson, and Vanessa. You guys are killing it. Thank you so much. We are out. Dr. Mitch is a great resource. I mean, Dementia Prevention Checklist. Get that. Vanessa's going to have to pull out that segment 3 on the sleep apnea, because that's really important. That's a key. And you got to get that test. You got to get that sleep apnea test. Take it from a guy with sleep apnea. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you. You just don't know. I didn't know. And it was like, I thought it was normal, and I'm abnormal, and amongst many other things. Anyways, thank you so much for subscribing, joining, listening, following, support. Please support our sponsors. Please support Brock. Please support Craig, Ameriprise, Keller Williams. If you're in other parts of the country, do that thing. Okay. Until next time, everybody, I'm Papa Tom. Go check out some of my dad talks on TikTok or on Instagram or wherever the heck you want to go, because they get kind of hilarious sometimes. Until next time, peace out, everybody. Love y'all. We'll have a good day. We'll talk to you next time.